Old Lady Chia overheard their cries. She asked with alacrity what the fuss was all about. Chia Chen immediately stepped outside to make inquiries. Lady Fang then advanced, and propping up her old senior, she went on to explain to her that a young Taoist priest, whose duties were to snuff the candles, had not previously retired out of the compound, and that he was now endeavoring to recklessly force his way out. "Be quick and bring the lad here," shouted Dowager Lady Chia, as soon as she heard her explanation. "But mind, don't frighten him. Children of mean families invariably get into the way of being spoiled by overindulgence. How ever could he have set eyes before upon such display as this? Were you to frighten him, he will really be much to be pitied. And won't his father and mother be exceedingly cut up?" As she spoke, she asked Chia Chen to go and do his best to bring him round. Chia Chen felt under the necessity of going, and he managed to drag the lad into her presence. With the scissors still clasped in his hand, the lad fell on his knees and trembled violently. Dowager Lady Chia bade Chia Chen raise him up. "There's nothing to fear," she said reassuringly. Then she asked him how old he was. The boy, however, could on no account give vent to speech. "Poor boy," once more exclaimed the old lady, and continuing, "Brother Chen," she added, addressing herself to Chia Chen, "take him away and give him a few cash to buy himself fruit with, and do impress upon everyone that they are not to bully him." Chia Chen signified his assent and led him off. During this time, Old Lady Chia, taking along with her the whole family party, paid her devotions in story after story and visited every place. The young pages who stood outside watched their old mistress and the other inmates enter the second row of gates. But of a sudden, they espied Chia Chen wend his way outwards, leading a young Taoist priest and calling the servants to come and say, "Take him and give him several hundreds of cash and abstain from ill-treating him." At these orders, the domestics approached with hurried step and led him off. Chia Chen then inquired from the terrace steps where the majordomo was. At this inquiry, the pages standing below called out in chorus, "Majordomo!" Lin Shihao ran over at once while adjusting his hat with one hand and appeared in the presence of Chia Chen. "Albeit this is a spacious place, we muster a good concourse today, so you'd better bring into this court those servants who will be of any use to you, and send over into that one those who won't. And choose a few from among those young pages to remain on duty at the second gate and at the two side entrances, so as to ask for things and deliver messages. Do you understand me, yes or no? The young ladies and ladies have all come out of town today, and not a single outsider must be permitted to put his foot in here." "I understand," replied Lin Shihao, hurriedly signifying his obedience. Next, he uttered several yeses. "Now," proceeded Chia Chen, "you can go on your way." "But how is it I don't see anything of Runger?" he went on to ask. This question was barely out of his lips when he caught sight of Runger running out of the belfry. "Look at him!" shouted Chia Chen. "Look at him! I don't feel hot in here, and yet he must go in search of a cool place. Spit at him!" he cried to the family servants. The young pages were fully aware that Chia Chen's ordinary disposition was such that he could not brook contradiction, and one of the lads speedily came forward and sputtered in Chia Yun's face. But Chia Chen still kept his gaze fixed on him, so the young page had to inquire of Chia Yun, "Master doesn't feel hot here, and how is it that you, sir, have been the first to go and get cool?" Chia Yun, however, dropped his arms and did not venture to utter a single sound. Chia Yun, Chia Ping, Chia Chin, and the other young people overheard what was going on, and not only were they scared out of their wits, but even Chia Lien, Chia Bin, Chia Chung, and their companions were stricken with intense fright, and one by one they quietly slipped down along the foot of the wall. "What are you standing there for?" Chia Chen shouted to Chia Yun. "Don't you yet get on your horse and gallop home and tell your mother that our venerable senior is here with all the young ladies, and bid them to come at once and wait upon them." As soon as Chia Yun heard these words, he ran out with hurried stride and called out repeatedly for his horse. Now he felt resentment, arguing within himself, "Who knows what he has been up to the whole morning that he now finds fault with me?" And now he went on to abuse the young servants, crying, "Are your hands made fast, that you can't lead the horse around?" And he felt inclined to bid a servant boy to go on the errand, but fearing again lest he should subsequently be found out, and be at a loss how to account for his conduct, he felt compelled to proceed in person, so mounted his steed and started on his way. But to return to Chia Chen, just as he was about to betake himself inside, he noticed the Taoist Chang, who stood next to him, force a smile. "I'm not, properly speaking, on the same footing as the others, and should be in attendance inside. But as on account of the intense heat, the young ladies have come out of doors, I couldn't presume to take upon myself to intrude and ask what your orders, sir, are. But the dowager lady may possibly inquire about me, or may like to visit any part of the temple, so I shall wait in here." Chia Chen was fully cognizant that this Taoist priest, Chang, had, it is true, in past days stood as a substitute for the Duke of the Rungguo monk Shun, but that the former emperor had with his own lips conferred upon him the appellation of the immortal being of the great unreal, and that he held presently the seal of Taoist superior, that the reigning emperor had raised him to the rank of the pureman, and that the princes nowadays, dukes and high officials, styled him the supernatural being, and he did not therefore treat him with any disrespect. In the second place, he knew that he had paid frequent visits to the mansions, and that he had made the acquaintance of the ladies and young ladies. So when he heard his present remark, he smilingly rejoined, "Do you again make use of such language amongst ourselves? One more word, and I'll take that beard of yours and outroot it. Don't you yet come along with me inside?" "Ha ha!" laughed the Taoist Chang aloud, as he followed Chia Chen in. Chia Chen approached Dowager Lady Chia. Bending his body, he strained a laugh. "Grandfather Chang has come in to make his respects." "Raise him up," old Lady Chia vehemently called out. Chia Chen lost no time in pulling him to his feet and bringing him over. The Taoist Chang first indulged in loud laughter. "O Buddha of unlimited years," he observed, "have you kept all right and in good health throughout, venerable senior? Have all the ladies and young ladies continued well? I haven't been for a time to your mansion to pay my obeisances, but you, my dowager lady, have improved more and more." "Venerable immortal being," smiled old Lady Chia, "how are you? Quite well?" "Thanks to the 10,000 blessings he has enjoyed from your hands," rejoined Chang, the Taoist. "My servant, too, continues pretty strong and hale. In every other respect, I've, after all, been all right, but I have felt much concern about Mr. Bao Yu. Has he been all right? All the time?" "The other day, on the 26th of the 4th month, I celebrated the birthday of the heaven-pervading mighty king. Few people came and everything went off right and proper. I told them to invite Mr. Bao to come for a stroll, but how was it they said that he was not at home?" "It was indeed true that he was away from home," remarked Dowager Lady Chia. As she spoke, she turned her head round and called Bao Yu. Bao Yu had, as it happened, just returned from outside where he had been to make himself comfortable, and with speedy step he came forward. "My respects to you, Grandfather Chang," he said. The Taoist Chang eagerly clasped him in his arms and inquired how he was getting on. Turning towards Dowager Lady Chia, "Mr. Bao has grown fatter than ever. Outwardly, his looks may be all right, but inwardly he is weak. On top of this, his father presses him so much to study that he has regularly managed all through this bullying to make his child fall sick. The other day, I went to several places on a visit,
and saw characters written by Mr. Bao and verses composed by him, all of which were exceedingly good. So how is it that his worthy father still feels displeased with him and maintains that Mr. Bao is not very fond of his books? According to my humble idea, he knows quite enough. As I consider Mr. Bao's face, his bearing, his speech and deportment, he proceeded, heaving a sigh, what a striking resemblance I find in him to the former Duke of the Rungguo Monshun. As he uttered these words, tears rolled down his cheeks. At these words, old Lady Chia herself found it hard to control her feelings. Her face became covered with the traces of tears. Quite so. I've had so many sons and grandsons, and not one of them betrayed the slightest resemblance to his grandfather. And this Bao Yu turns out to be the very image of him.
What the former Duke of Jingkuo was like in appearance? Chang the Taoist went on to remark, addressing himself to Chia Chen, "You gentlemen and your generation were, of course, needless to say, not in time to see for yourselves. But I fancy that even our senior master and our master secondus have but a faint recollection of it." This said, he burst into another loud fit of laughter. "The other day," he resumed, "I was at someone's house, and there I met a young girl, who is this year in her 15th year, and verily gifted with a beautiful face, and I bethought myself that Mr. Pao must also have a wife found for him. As far as looks, intelligence, and mental talents, extraction, and family standing go, this maiden is a suitable match for him, but as I didn't know what your venerable ladyship would have to say about it, your servant did not presume to act recklessly, but waited until I could ascertain your wishes before I took upon myself to open my mouth with the parties concerned." Some time ago, responded Dowager Lady Chia, a Bones explained that it was ordained by destiny that this child shouldn't be married at an early age, and that we should put things off until he grew somewhat in years before anything was settled. But mark my words now, pay no regard as to whether she be of wealthy and honorable stock or not. The essential thing is to find one whose looks make her a fit match for him, and then come at once and tell me. For even admitting that the girl is poor, all I shall have to do will be to bestow on her a few ounces of silver, but fine looks and a sweet temperament are not easy things to come across." When she had done speaking, Lady Feng was heard to smilingly interpose. "Grandfather Chang, aren't you going to change the talisman of recorded name of our daughter? The other day, lucky enough for you, you had again the great cheek to send someone to ask me for some satin of gosling yellow color. I gave it to you, for had I not, I was afraid lest your old face should have been made to feel uneasy." "Ha ha," roared the Taoist Chang. "Just see how my eyes must have grown dim. I didn't notice that you, my lady, were in here, nor did I express one word of thanks to you. The talisman of recorded name is ready long ago. I meant to have sent it over the day before yesterday, but the unforeseen visit of the Empress to perform meritorious deeds upset my equilibrium and made me quite forget it. But it's still placed before the Dodds, and if you'll wait, I'll go and fetch it." Saying this, he rushed into the main hall. Presently, he returned with a tea tray in hand, on which was spread a deep red satin cover, brocaded with dragons. In this, he presented the charm. Dachie Er's nurse took it from him. But just as the Taoist was on the point of taking Dachie Er in his embrace, Lady Feng remarked with a smile, "It would have been sufficient if you'd carried it in your hand, and why use a tray to lay it on? My hands aren't clean, so how could I very well have taken hold of it? A tray, therefore, made things much cleaner." "When you produced that tray just now," laughed Lady Feng, "I gave you quite a start. I didn't imagine that it was for the purpose of bringing the charm in. It really looked as if you were disposed to beg donations of us." This observation sent the whole company into a violent fit of laughter. Even Chia Chen could not suppress a smile. "What a monkey!" Dowager Lady Chia exclaimed, turning her head round. "What a monkey you are! Aren't you afraid of going down to that hell where tongues are cut off? I've got nothing to do with any men whatsoever, and why does he time and again tell me that it's my bounden duty to lay up a store of meritorious deeds, and that if I'm remiss, my life will be short?" Chang the Taoist indulged in further laughter. I brought out the tray so as to kill two birds with one stone. It wasn't, however, to beg for donations. On the contrary, it was in order to put in it the jade that I meant to ask Mr. Powell to take off so as to carry it outside and let all those Taoist friends of mine who come from far away, as well as my neophytes and the young apprentices, see what it's like. Well, since that be the case, added old Lady Chia, why do you, at your age, try your strength by running about the whole day long? Take him at once along and let them see it, but were you to have called him in there, wouldn't it have saved a lot of trouble?